Bonjour tout le monde! Today we are going to talk about la négation, or how to make sentences negative in French. We've already talked about this a little bit. We've been doing je n'aime pas et je ne suis pas and all that kind of stuff since the beginning of the semester. But today we're going to talk about the actual rules for all of that and a couple of other different negative expressions so that you can kind of level up your sentences a little bit. So first, to make a sentence negative in French, the most common negative expression is ne pas. That's the one that we've been using since almost day one. And it's always going to go around the conjugated verb. So the first thing you need to do is you need to identify the conjugated verb. And as we've talked about, all verbs in French are either going to end in er, ir, or re, which means the form of the verb that does not end in those letters is probably going to be your conjugated form. So for example, les enfants jouent au tennis. Joue there is the conjugated form of the verb jouer. And Pierre aime les devoirs. Pierre likes homework. M is the the conjugated form of the verb aimer. So that is our conjugated verb in that sentence. Then you are going to add ne pas around the conjugated verb, just like we've been doing. You just didn't really realize you were doing it. Les enfants ne jouent pas au tennis. You've got your ne, your conjugated verb, and your pas. And then Pierre n'aime pas les devoirs. You've got your ne, your conjugated verb, and your pas. And then notice when the verb starts with a vowel that the ne contracts, you drop that E, and you just do an apostrophe. Like I said, we've been doing n'aime pas for months now, since almost the first week of French 1. All right. And then adding ne pas will usually mean don't or doesn't in French. It kind of depends a little bit on your sentence and what you're saying, how it translates. But in general, that is what ne pas will translate as. So les enfants ne jouent pas au tennis. The children don't play tennis or do not play tennis. Pierre n'aime pas les devoirs. Pierre doesn't like homework or he does not like homework. We have both of those options in English, but it's only ne pas in French. And then there are also a lot of other negative expressions in French. So we're not going to go through all of them today, but we're going to go through some of the most common ones. We've got ne rien, which means nothing or not anything. So mon chien mange la pizza. My dog eats pizza. Mon chien ne mange rien. My dog eats nothing or my dog doesn't eat anything. We have two ways of expressing that same thing in English, but it's just ne mange rien. And you'll notice in this particular example, we took out la pizza when we made that sentence negative, because if you're saying my dog eats nothing, you're not going to say my dog eats nothing, the pizza. That wouldn't make sense. So oftentimes when you're using rien, you're going to have to take something out of the sentence. The next one we're going to talk about is ne jamais, which means never. Nous écoutons la musique en classe. We listen to music in class. I can't talk this morning. Nous n'écoutons jamais la musique en classe. We never listen to music in class. So same idea. You're going to put the ne in front of your conjugated verb, your jamais after your conjugated verb. The next common negative expression is ne plus, which can translate into English as no longer or not anymore. Ma grand-mère parle français. My grandmother speaks French. Ma grand-mère ne parle plus français. My grandmother no longer speaks French, or she doesn't speak French anymore. Again, we have two different ways of expressing that in English, but it's just ne parle plus in French. And again, ne in front of your verb, plus after your verb. Sometimes you will have compound verbs where you have two different verbs in the sentence, but the rule is always the ne and your negative expression, be that pas, rien, jamais, plus, whatever that negative expression is, it always has to go around the conjugated verb. So if you have two verbs in your sentence, like our first example here, vous n'aimez pas étudier, it's going around aimer because that is our conjugated verb. Elle ne déteste plus jouer au golf. It's going around déteste because that is our conjugated verb in the sentence. And you can tell that the verb after it is in its infinitive form because it still ends in er. Je n'aime rien manger. I don't like to eat anything. Ne before our conjugated verb and rien after our conjugated verb. And tu n'aimes jamais dîner au restaurant. Ne in front of our conjugated M, jamais after. And again, manger and dîner you can tell are not conjugated because they still end in er. All right, so now you're going to try a few. Take these sentences. I've given you the negative expression in parentheses at the end. Pause the video, try to rewrite your sentences using the negative expression given. Remember, you might possibly have to take something out of the original sentence in order to make your negative sentence make sense. So take a minute, pause the video, rewrite these sentences using the negative, and when you're done, turn it back on and check your answers. All right, let's see how we did. Les garçons ne travaillent pas. So you have the ne in front of your conjugated travail and the pas after. Numéro 2, nous ne perdons jamais notre match. Ne, conjugated verb perdons, and then your negative expression jamais. Je n'aime plus manger les champignons. Ne, conjugated M, and then your negative expression plus. Elle ne regarde rien. This is one of those where you had to take something out. I can't remember what was in the last sentence. The movie. So you can't say elle ne regarde rien le film. She's not watching anything, the movie. That wouldn't make sense. So you have to take out the something when you put in the nothing. And you've got ne, a conjugated regarde, and then rien. And the last one, tu ne parles pas ta prof de français, ne, conjugated parle pas. So you have to kind of think of your negative expressions as a verb sandwich. Ne and pas, or ne and rien, or ne and jamais are the bread, and the verb is the good stuff in the middle. So remember, when you're doing negative expressions, ne, conjugated verb, negative expression. And then if you have two verbs, it will still go around that first conjugated verb. So let me know if you have questions, and make sure you complete the Google form on Classroom. Remember, it's one of those that you can do as many times as you need to until you score at least an 80 to get full credit.